What's up, everybody? It's Charles. Today I'm taking your questions on oil filter differences, broken timing belts, technicians hating me, and more. This is episode 239 of the HumbleMechanic podcast. All right, so you got a question you want to send in, do that by emailing me, charles@humblemechanic.com. Put question for Charles in that subject line. That's what I use to filter out all of the hundreds of emails I get every day to get questions for shows like this. And if your question doesn't make it here, either send it again or check that quick videos playlist on YouTube where I do one question per video. And if you'd rather just listen, there is an audio-only version of this and most other shows. You can check those out on the website at humblemechanic.com or on your favorite podcasting platform. And real quick, if you guys like the show and you want discounts to places like Black Forest, Eastwood, MT Knives, Sonic Tools, Kerma TDI, Adams Polishes, USP Motorsports, and a whole bunch more, check out that crew membership program. Links down in the description. I'll keep it short on this one today. Let's hit the questions. First one up is from my buddy Andy. He's got a Mark V R32 and wants to know, is the straight pleated oil filter as good as the oil filter with the zigzag pattern? Hey Charles, getting ready to do an oil filter service on my Mark V R32. And I have a question on performance of straight filter versus the pleats. There's some speculation online that VW is having a problem with the zigzag pleating, but I'd figure I'd ask you instead of believing some random person online. Thanks in advance. Hope all is best on your end, brother. Thanks, Andy. Andy, so I'm also just some random person online, but it's a good question and one that I've gotten honestly more while I was at the dealership, and it was, which one's better? Okay, here's the thing. Here's my opinion of this, right? I have not done extensive analysis on oil pressure through and crush rates of these filters, straight versus the zigzag. I haven't done any of that. All I've done is taken hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these filters out of cars and, of course, put new ones in. And what I will say is that if you look at the filter, the straight pleats versus the zigzag, I've seen more of those zigzag style filters crushed, like squeezed and twisted, than I have the straight pleated ones. I had a customer one time with her diesel come in and talk to me about oil filters, and we went through and compared the MAN filters, the ones made by MAN oil filters, and the ones that made by a French company that I can't think of the name. It's driving me insane. I've been trying to think of it all morning, but I can't think of it, and we compared the two and put the straight pleated filter in. So every time she came in, I made sure I grabbed one that had the straight pleats. Now, does that really matter in any significant way at all to the performance of our cars? The truth is I don't know. I really don't think it does. If you are changing the filter at proper interval, using a good quality filter, not the 99-cent one that probably doesn't fit anyway, I don't really think it's going to matter. Now, I don't really love these kind of filters anyway because they can all have the tendency to crush down. The pleated ones tend to squeeze and twist. The straight ones, the ends actually tend to break off more than anything. So there's pros and cons on everything. If you're doing proper maintenance, if you're making sure your oil level's correct, if your engine is running properly, I really don't think there's gonna matter a whole bunch on which one you pick. All that being said, and me truly not thinking it matters, if I were gonna pick one of those two, dude, I'd go with the straight one. It could just be completely a subliminal mind thingy that just makes me feel better about it. You could do this dynamic testing and test pressures with both the style filters, but I think you're gonna find it probably doesn't matter enough in any kind of significant way. Now, if you're using one or the other and going, say, 20,000 miles on that filter, which is a no-no, and I know Andy's not doing that, so this is not at you, Andy, this is just in general, I think that pleated one's probably going to collapse and fail, reducing oil pressure faster than the straight one would. But again, I've not done the actual testing. That's just kind of gut feeling, looking at the filter, that kind of stuff. So, Andy, the truth is I don't think it matters a whole lot, but if you want my recommendation, get the straight one because that makes me feel better, and that's what I usually use in my car. Unless I don't have one, and I only have the pleated one, the zigzaggy style one, then I would use that, and I just really wouldn't worry a whole lot. Make sure you're using the right oil, and make sure the level's good and your car's healthy, and you'll be just fine, I think. All right, next one up is from Donato. Question for Charles. What do you do with a car that has a lot of codes? When I scan the car, it has 20 different codes. I really don't know where to start. Want to get your opinion on how to tackle that issue. Okay, wow, awesome question, because this actually does happen a lot. So there's multiple directions that we can go with it. The first thing I usually do when I scan a car and I see it's got, 10, 20 fault codes in it, I'll try and find the one that actually triggered the light. Okay, the one that triggered the light is probably, not always, but probably the most severe of an issue. So this would be really common on, let's call it a Mark IV, where you had a bad fuel pump relay and it had a bunch of open or short to ground circuit faults, and you probably had some misfire faults, and you probably had a battery that was weak at one point, so you have some low voltage faults. That could easily be 20 fault codes, no problem. So what do? We look at the one that turned the light on. That's step one. Then what I do is I look at which ones are static and which ones are intermittent. If they're static, meaning the test is currently failing, then we might want to attack those first. So what we don't want to do is look at a list, this is not even close to a list of 20 fault codes and go, don't know, clear, done. Okay, not always the first step that I like to take. But we also don't want to look at that same list and go, oh my God, there's 20 faults, I'm screwed, it's time to crush my car and total it. We don't want to do that either. We need to look at what turned the light on, static versus intermittent, and then what we want to do after we've kind of broken that up is we want to take a little bit more global look at those faults. That example of the fuel pump relay is a good one because it'll give you like 15 short to ground faults. If we were to grab our wiring diagram and trace every one of those components back to a source, it's going to bring us back to that fuel pump relay. So there is no always do this step-by-step diagnostic tree when you have 20 faults, because those 20 faults could be one component, it could be 7 components, it could be one component failure causing another component failure, then that one causing a cascade of problems. So there's not a black and white step-by-step on how to do this, but I like to approach it the way I said, this one that turned the light on, static versus intermittent, and then look at them globally as a whole and try and find some kind of commonality between them. There also is a place where blowing the faults out and retesting has a lot of value. The great thing about doing it on a VW or Audi, and probably on some other cars, is with our scan tool, we can force readiness. So we can run all the tests that the car runs in the stall and see what fault codes come back. There's also a good opportunity to just open the hood, take the engine covers off, and do a good thorough visual inspection. You might find a vacuum leak causing misfires, causing a throttle body concern, causing a idle limit regulation too high or something like that, maybe making the fuel pressure unhappy. There's 1,000 scenarios that it can be, but take that approach first, and then when you get to a point where you're like, don't know, hands off, go ahead and blow them out, test drive the car, and see what comes back. Let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. All right, next one up is from Alex. To junk or try and fix a B5 Passat with a broken timing belt. Oh, man, that sucks. Charles, thanks for your time and sharing your knowledge with us. I have an 04 1.8 turbo front-wheel drive Passat wagon. I have an 05 of the same thing. 137K, pretty decent shape. I bought it as a daily beater for $1,800 from a mechanic who was closing his shop. That would have been my first red flag, possibly. Since then, I have about $2,400 total into it and a lot of time and sweat. Yep. Previous owner told me he did the timing belt and water pump around 100K. Yesterday, highway, 80 miles per hour, engine died, timing belt done. Should I use used head from a junkyard and put out $400 or $500 in parts and try and get it running? Or just junk it and get an 03 Civic Si as a daily? I found a great deal on it. Passat has ABS module issues, needs upper control arms, needs AC recharge, interior's falling apart. My headliner just fell down on my 1.8 turbo, and I'm gonna take this opportunity to complain about it because I'm not happy, but we'll move on. Figured it's only worth $1,500 to $2,000. Yeah, you're probably right on that, Alex. Those cars are just not worth much. It's why I'll probably never sell my Passat because it's just not worth anything, even in perfect condition, which it's not because it's riddled in hail damage. Dude, it's gonna break my heart a little bit to tell you this. I'd probably not fix it. You're gonna spend, I would say, at minimum $500, and you're probably gonna spend more than that with little knick-knacky parts and other stuff you're gonna find broken. My guess is that's gonna cost you a cool $1,000, even getting a salvage yard head, because you really don't wanna just put that head on, right? If you're gonna invest in doing $1,000 worth of work, you want that head gone through and make sure you don't need valve guides and valve seals, and make sure that that other one didn't have a broken belt or issue too. So I'd probably spend a few $100s on getting that head rehabbed, which probably even drive that cost up more. And Civics are great cars, right? They're not my favorite. It's not the most exciting car to me. The SI is a little bit better, I guess. But it's probably a better car. That B5, guys, I love that car. I mean, we've had ours for like 12 years. Love the car. But it is probably one of the most expensive Volkswagens ever built to maintain and own, especially now because they're old. They're 13 years old at the newest. Most of them are ragged out. Most of them have been poorly maintained throughout their life. So it hurts my heart. It really does, Alex. But I would probably go ahead and part ways with that car. Maybe you can get a couple $100 on Craigslist for it. Maybe you can get a couple $100 parting it out if there's some good stuff left on it. Or call your local salvage yard, take the $300 maybe that you'll get for it, and just be done with it. And move on to that Civic. Hopefully you've gotten some time with it and at least got your $2,400 out of it. And if you put any new parts on it, take those off and try and sell those. A lot of people like the interior stuff because it does tend to fall apart if yours is in good shape. So man, I really want to say fix it, right? That's our point, right? That's what I'm here to do, is help you guys fix your stuff. But cars do reach a point where you're gonna spend a lot and you're not gonna get anything better than a running car. And you could spend a tiny bit more and get a car that it's not newer, but it's probably a more reliable vehicle. I say probably, let's be honest, the Civic's a more reliable vehicle in 99% of cases. Less expensive to repair, less expensive to maintain, and you got a boatload of other problems. That ABS module's $500, upper control arms if you do it yourself is $500, plus a $200 alignment. AC is not a big deal, but dude, buy the Civic. That's really bumming me out. All right, last one of the day is from Rob. Do you ever have technicians who watch your show write in and disagree or argue with what you say? Must be interesting if this does happen. New segment for the show, possibly. Love what you do. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, no. So I think the biggest heartache ones come from two places. DIYs, which technicians get mad and feel like I'm taking money out of their pocket by showing someone how to fix their own car. I understand why technicians feel that way, but I completely disagree. I think educating people on how car repairs are made actually helps technicians because they either know how complicated it is and understand why it's expensive, or then people are just going to do the little knick-knacky stuff themselves, like put a taillight bulb in, which, guys, technician friends, we know you don't make a killing on flat rate off throwing a bulb in a car if you get paid for it at all anyway. So let them take care of the easy stuff, so they have a couple extra bucks to bring it to do things like on that B5 Passat, timing belts, control arm bushings, that kind of stuff. Because I made way more money on timing belts and control arm bushings than I ever did on little knick-knacky things like air filters and light bulbs. So there is that sentiment that people get mad at me for that. I think the biggest hate I got on any video is when I did the vacuum pump video on 2.5s where we disassemble it to replace it and then install it and put it back together. Techs were mad because they felt like I was giving away all the secrets, but that really wasn't the case, and I don't think it's really cost anybody $1. If you believe that your customers being educated is costing you money, then you're probably screwing your customers anyway, so I have no sympathy for you. Now, on the other side of that, the other thing that I get, not hate, but disagreements, and guys, disagreements are great, right? I read every single comment, period, every email, everywhere. I read them all. I try to respond to as many as I possibly can. And I think a disagreement is good, especially when it's an intelligent and thought out disagreeing comment, not you suck. Yeah, I suck, right? No big deal, whatever. But if it's a very thought out and well explained comment, we can have a discussion about it. And perhaps neither one of us move on our positions, right? I know what I believe and why I believe it, and you probably do too, and that's okay. We can have a conversation about it. We can disagree on it. We can state our facts and our opinions, and at the end of the day, I respect you for your opinion, and you may or may not respect me for mine, and that's fine, but that's how we all start to get better and understand, and maybe you bring up a point that I never even thought of based on your experience. I've even had the level of hate brought to where people have done response videos to other videos that I've done, specifically the one about how to be a mechanic or should you be a mechanic in 2018. That one I think got 5 or 6 response videos, all of them positive, right? Disagreeing, which is cool, or maybe not fully agreeing, I guess, like agreeing with points but disagreeing with points, which I think is great. And then one that was just like 20 minutes of this dude flaming me. You can find it if you want. I'm not going to bother linking it up. I watched a few minutes of it, and actually he spent a ton of time on it, so the editing is kind of funny, and there's some funny points. But in that comment section of the video, there was a lot of people really talking crap about that video that I did, which I find interesting because if you hate it so strongly to comment on another video, why not comment on mine and let's chat about it? Always been the person that probably drew a bit of animosity from people around me. It's tough to explain why, I guess. You know, you want to believe that people are jealous because I'm successful, and I don't think that's it. I think people just don't like when you push outside of norms. So early on in my dealership career, people were giving me a hard time for talking to customers, and they were giving me this hard time because they didn't want to do it. So me doing it somehow impacted them not, or they felt like it made them look bad. I don't really know. To be very blunt, guys, I've never cared that much about it to investigate why. And unless someone said, Charles, I don't like you because, I didn't really give it too much thought. You know, you could be mad at me, whatever, and that's fine. If you're not going to say anything to me about it, why should I care about it? And then there's a saying I heard, and I can't find the source of it, so this is a bit of a paraphrase, and I'll clean it up despite me really not wanting to clean it up, so you can insert the authoritative swear word in the place that you'll know I say it. And that was this woman talking about like people and how they perceive each other, and she said something that just like punched right in the face, right? You're like, holy crap, that's amazing. And the paraphrase is, other people's opinion of you is none of your bleeping business. Let me say that again. Other people's opinion of you is none of your business. And when you think about it, she's 100% right. That's their business. That's their problem. And unless it impacts you in some way, don't worry about it. And that's kind of the approach that I've taken, you know, not having heard that phrase before until recently. That was kind of the approach that I had. It's just now I can put a really cool saying to it. So props to the lady that said it. Sorry, I can't give you better credit for that. I really do wish I could. I focus, get my stuff done, do right in the places that I knew doing right was the most important thing. And guys, understand that in almost every situation, your success or Bill next door's success or Sally's success, none of those things are successes at the expense of you. Sometimes they are, but I think that's pretty rare. You know, maybe Sally's super successful and you're not, because Sally works her butt off and is just flat out better than you. Okay, that's probably more likely. It's not, you know, kissing up to the boss or doing underhanded things. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. I don't really mind one way or another. But if you're not okay with that, take a mirror, take a selfie, right? Take a selfie. Look in that selfie picture, look in that mirror, and decide whose fault that really is. Is it Sally's or is it yours? And you're gonna find, if you remove the BS that we all put in our own brain about things, if you remove that bullcrap, and really analyze the situation, probably a you problem. You're the one that's not working that extra hour or going a little bit above and beyond, pushing that boundary a little bit to be successful. It's not them that's causing you not to be successful, it's you. And that can be a really hard pill to swallow, but guys, once you figure that out, you'll find that being successful is actually quite a bit easier when you just pile it on your old shoulders and wear it. So Rob, awesome question. It's a fun topic to talk about. All right, guys, wrapping it up there. Questions, comments, drop them down below. You like the video, hit that thumbs up button. Always appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on all these social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I said them all in a wrong order than I normally say them. I don't know what's up with that. Don't forget about the audio-only shows if you like on that. Links to everything we talked about today down in the description, as well as timestamps if you want to skip around on the questions. I like to do that sometimes in certain videos. So guys, with that, I'm out. Have an awesome day, week, month, year, life, and I'll talk to you again next time.